After the Judas Priest retrospective video, feel like that since I've done a retrospective on the newest Judas Priest album, I think now that I want to touch on a little subject that I've been wanting to do ever since this album came out. And once you see the title of this video, or the thumbnail, then you might already tell what this video is. So let's get into the retrospective of 72 seasons, because this one is going to be a good one. Alright, here it comes! Let's see what we got. Ready to listen, guys? Shout out, 894 is our leader. Oh, that's the auto rack. 3014. 3014. Whoa! Look at this guy. Wow. Metallica. One of the most popular metal bands in the entire world and nationwide. This band, started in 1981, was very famous enough for its daring maneuvers to play in countries that they actually were somewhat forbidden to play, but they eventually gradually brought into something that they could play in different countries. They, of course, released a total of 10 studio albums before this decade of the 2020s. But what is this 11th studio album we're known for? What does this album have in particular with Metallica in general? This video is going to be quite a long one, considering that I have a lot of memories with this album being called 72 Seasons, released on April 14th of 2023, and this one certainly has a memorable scene of memorability in this one. And this is what we're going over today, folks. This has simply been a video I've been wanting to do for quite some time now, and certainly it's back in the limelight for all of you people to finally get the chance to watch. And definitely, it is one album that I bet a lot of people had some criticism over to make this album feel like it was a detriment to them. Not like a detriment to be a pretty bad one, but people that heavily do criticize this album are just people who are not fans of Metallica altogether would have not liked this album. So why do people think this? I'm a person when it comes to Metallica, and especially if you already seen from my channel, I have an entire playlist of this album that I had just got done in 2023 on the day that the album came out. So, it's worth noting that this is going to be a video all about the memorability I had with this album, and I still have a lot of memories from this album as of today. So let's get started. Before we get started into this one, allow me to explain rules inside this one that I bet are really big rules that definitely stand out. Now, most of these ones are going to be the same from last time, of course. Previously, we have settled into 3 rules. Now, we're settling into 4. So let's get on into it. Number 1 is, of course, pros and cons. What songs are good and what songs are bad? It's going to be hard to choose a con from any of the songs, because I consider most of the songs off this album, in fact all of them, to be pretty darn great. So, there are going to be quite a bit of some constraints when it comes to cons. But, it's going to really come with some positive feedback from this one at a very certain point. Number 2 is going to be personal bias. What song do I think is good, or what song do I think is bad? Again, just like pros and cons, it's going to be hard to choose a bad song, but if anything, the songs will have to introduce something to add new to the table. Number 3 is a new one here. Number 3 is going to be memorability. I definitely have a nice memorable history with this album, and I'll explain as we go through the retrospective. And as far as this album is, it's going to be pretty fun to digest into all of the history among these songs and singles that came out with the album. And number 4, this should come as no surprise, but all of this is just my opinion. None of this is fact, and none of it means it in the grand scheme of things. However, criticism will be considered a fact when it comes to people who heavily criticize this new Metallica record, because I do criticize those who really hate this album. And I definitely would have to say that when it comes to this album, I would just ostracize the entire point that this album was criticized to people nowadays, but overall, I like this album. So, get buckled up in your seats, everyone, because here is the 12th track album of 72 Seasons on full retrospect. So let's get started. Number 1, 72 Seasons. Right off the bat, 72 Seasons starts off with a nice bass line to start it off. I really do like this intro to the album that starts off with a nice bass line. It's certainly a nice, memorable one, of course. I certainly do like the lyrics of this one, of saying, staring into black light definitely makes this song feel a lot more majestic. But what do I really like about the song the most? Again, the intro. The intro is really fantastic. I certainly love the bass line that starts off with this one, of course. Little hints of guitar slowly starting to pile up as these intros slowly start to progress, and then it just goes full-on extreme hyper activity when it comes to the guitars after the 8-6, 7-5, and then 5-3-2-0 part, and then it just gets straight on into hyperness into mostly the opens of zeros. But yeah, I will say this: 72 Seasons is a very big song, of course, and possibly a very big song in general. And also keep in mind, most of the songs I've practiced from Metallica were mostly from this album. In fact, all the songs off this album I remembered playing all together. I could just play the entire album if I wanted to, but again, YouTube and copyright bots can easily attack my video on that, so I would not do that. And YouTube, again, just like the retrospective on Judas Priest I did, no audio is going to be featured from these songs at all, but it will feature me rambling about this one. This is certainly a memorable song, but I'm not so sure if it goes to the top 5 though, but I think it's somewhere and starts off pretty decently. It's not like the Judas Priest retrospective where it starts off with Panic Attack, which goes 10th on that list. This one, of course, is a good way to start it off. Certainly one that goes somewhere near the top 5, but not in the top 5 exactly. But still overall, a great song to start off the album. Number 2, Shadows Follow. Just like 72 Seasons, Shadows Follow is another pretty majestic piece of art when it comes to Metallica's end. But it isn't the song that is majestic, no. But however, the music video is very great. And I want to talk about animation. Let's talk animation. This video was animated by Tristan Zammit, and I want to 100% give this guy a shout out because I just love his animations for music videos. It makes me feel like I'm watching some kind of like anime-like music video when I'm watching them, of course. And especially when it comes to his 2D and 3D animations. His 2D and 3D animations, all combined into one setting, are all really fantastic. Most of the humans or other things that are living are mostly 2D, but things that are like buildings or other insane creatures are in 3D animations. And certainly, I really do like that when it comes to Tristan's end. I certainly want to give this guy a huge shout out when it comes to it. Another song, Code Mistake by Corpse and Bring Me the Horizon, is possibly one of his best work of all time. It might feature some insane stuff off that video, but it is a very great song to say the least though. Don't get me wrong. But anyways, Shadows Follow, with that out of the way, of talking about Tristan Zammit, being a nice animator for Metallica and all, this song is really great. I definitely really would consider this one to be at the top 5, but again, just like 72 Seasons, I think it just goes somewhere near the top 5. It's not in the top 5, but it is a song that I am willing to revisit. Definitely one I could easily play, and it is quite catchy as well. I definitely like this song. Okay, I'm gonna have to do quite a bit of some editing on this part because I just don't know if this is a good title to put in here, but it's for the retrospective. Number 3, Screaming, Anxiety? How about Anxiety? Alright, let's get down to business. Now, even if this song has a very insane title when looked upon on the actual Metallica album, this song is actually really, really fun, actually. This song is really good. I really love this song off of 72 Seasons, despite it having a bad title from all the odds against it. But other than that, though, I still really love this song, and definitely a very good standout. I certainly do love the part after the solo, and I really love that part, of course. But the lyrics, though, are somewhat insane, but overall, the song is actually really catchy, though. One of another songs I've also learned how to play off this album entirely, and I'm gonna shock everyone on what I'm about to say on this one. Even if this one, despite all the odds against it for having a very bad title on the actual album in general, this is the first one I'm going to say right now, and I repeat, this is the first one I'm going to put on the top 5. I repeat, this is the first song to be put on the top 5. I do not care what anybody says, but considering I have to change it to Anxiety, still makes this one feel more welcomed. So, yep, we're good. Nothing that bad or anything. Number 4, Sleepwalk My Life Away. This is another song that I also really like a lot. And just like 72 Seasons that starts off with the album with a bass line, this one starts off with a bass line. I certainly really do like how Metallica is really starting off most of their new songs off this album with some bass to add on to the new album on some parts. Sadly though, bass lines are not that so common on this one. Only about 2 of the 12 songs off this album starts off with bass lines. At least that's how I know about it. But as far as I understand, though, this is actually, in my opinion, possibly one of Metallica's most cinematic music videos, if you ask me this question, if I talk 72 Seasons on this one. I certainly do love Sleepwalk My Life Away, and let me tell you guys something. Just like the Judas Priest retrospective that I talked about how titles really dragged me into these songs, this one, including Shadows Follow, really made me pull myself into the song because of the title. It's certainly a memorable song when the title is brought up, and especially how it obviously brings up a nice plot to what that song really is. Now, once you look at the title of the song, you might already know what the plot is up until when you actually listen to it. And only about like a couple minutes in, you probably already get it. This song is actually really great. I am certainly also putting this one as the top 5er, besides Screaming Anxiety though, which I'm going to have to say that for this one on the rest of the entire retrospective. Thankfully, though, you don't have to hear me say that, but other than that, though, this song is another good one to put onto the top 5, and certainly another memorable one. Definitely one I would revisit also. Another good song to play, and another really catchy one. Number 5, You Must Burn. And the first Metallica song on this list that I actually learned how to play on full display. No questions. Oh yeah, just to let you guys know, when I actually got the idea to actually say this title, I was about to say it in this tone. You must burn. Okay, that was a little bit too scary. I must have scared you guys there. Boo. Okay, let's get down to business. Now, even if this song having another pretty insane title, not that so insane as the other one did, I don't need to go ahead and say numerous times because you guys already know what it is. This song is also a very great masterpiece as well, and I first considered to put this one as a magnum opus at first. This was one of my favorites as well growing up when this album came out, and certainly this was one song that I had a huge memory with when it came to the bridge. The bridge part is one of the most eeriest parts of this entire album by far, and honestly, that's why I like it so much. The bridge part is the most memorable thing of this song in my own opinion though. But if I have to really think about this song entirely, it again has to do with the title. Now the title I don't think has anything to do of memorability though, but when it comes to the song, of course, I actually at first when I saw these titles, like, I don't know, You Must Burn or Crown of Barbed Wire, it made me picture of like an entire eerie song that Metallica was going to put together. But they didn't. But don't worry, there are some hints of eeriness involved into this one, but most of the time, it's kind of catchy, nice, good riffs on this one. Pretty nice ones on this one. It's not as translucent by anything else, but it is still a really nice song to say the least though. And by the way, another good song to put onto the top 5. It's another really good one, and definitely a memorable one. Another one that is easily going to the top 5. Number 6. Lux Æterna. Okay. I'm pretty sure that sound effect from my voice definitely had pretty much actually surprised all of you, but I'm going to make this clear. Lux Æterna is a fast song. In fact, one of the most shortest of the album, being a whopping 3 minutes in length, and also the lead single to be released. I should also probably mention that 4 of the 12 songs off this album became singles. Songs such as Lux Æterna, which is this song, Screaming Anxiety, as the second, released in January of 2023. If Darkness Had a Sun, released on the first day of March of 2023, and 72 Seasons was also released in March of that year, but on the final day of that month. So, it is very catchy watching the music video of this one. Again, just like Sleepwalk My Life Away, and also another thing I forgot to say about You Must Burn, this is a song that I 100% think achieved in its cinematic viewing. I certainly think that this is possibly one of their most cinematic and most sci-fi related kind of music videos when you think of it. The lyric video is alright though, but I mean, the blue and everything else that dazzles into this one is very vibrant in this one. For most of the thumbnails we've seen throughout this entire album are mostly red, gray, black and white, or anything else, or maybe even brownish tin, of course, and maybe even some yellow, brown, and gray mixed in. But for this one, this is our first thumbnail that has a blue background on it, so I certainly really like this one. In fact, this song is possibly one of the most hyperactive songs off this entire album. No kidding. This song is extremely fast and extremely fun, though. Most people really think that this is a magnum opus to the song because of how much they remember the song, and also how much this really brought the memories back to them. But to me, personally, I have no idea if this song, to me, should go to be a top 5er. My mind is telling me I should, but I'm going to leave it up to the rankings for my final guess at the very end of it. So right now, it's going to be somewhat rank neutral until when I find a position for it. But this is a good song, though, don't get me wrong, and I bet a lot of people will agree with me, but I'm not entirely sure if the ranking will be good for those who like this one. But other than that, though, I like this song. Definitely a memorable one. Number 7, Crown of Barbed Wire. Now, this is another Crown theme song. Just like from Judas Priest, we got ourselves a song that had the word crown in it. Crown of Horns. But this one is Crown of Barbed Wire. And I'm going to tell you guys something. This title is actually really, really cool, to be honest with you. Another title that dragged me into this one. And also, the more I feel like that Metallica, previously from their other albums, like Hardwired to Self-Destruct, didn't focus on that much insane titles in this one. But this one, I think they're just going just flat out dark on this one. You know what? I think I might find the perfect word to describe this this album on once we get to the end of it, but we'll cover that once we get to it. But anyways, Crown of Barbed Wire is a fantastic song. The music video is also really great too, and at first I thought this was another one animated by Tristan Zammit, but I was actually wrong. Now, I do not know the director or animator who did this, but I will put a screenshot and paste it onto the videos just so you guys can understand who the main director and animator of this one really was. Not a director, no, but also an animator. That's pretty cool. But other than that, though, I still think that Crown of Barbed Wire is somewhat rather inspired. Again, like I said, when I look at these titles, it makes me think that this song is eerie, but it isn't. But there are some little spices of eeriness inside these songs, like You Must Burn did in the bridge. And for this one, again, the bridge is also extremely eerie in Crown of Barbed Wire itself. So I was actually blown away from what I've heard from this song. Of course, I'm going to talk about criticism in this one before we move on to the next song. Now, I'm going to make this clear. This song, in everyone's opinion, is the slowest song off the album. And I think that's because that you pay too much attention to the time limit, honestly. But honestly, that's why people kind of don't really like this one, considering that the transitions between songs on this album are kind of slowish, as if they're slow as a snail on this one. But I do not see anything bad with the transitions in this one. They might be slow, yes, but slow in a way that builds up momentum, and a way that builds up hyperactivity into the solos. Another song that I also can easily play, this is another good one, especially one that I think definitely deserves a spot in the top 5. Number 8, Chasing Light. This was always one of my favorites when this album came out. And again, just like You Must Burn, I actually considered this one at first to be a magnum opus when I heard this song. And yes, another nice effect added to that one, but not a voice effect. It's more of a video effect. I like that lighting transition, and I chose it because it's for the title. But anyways, Chasing Light's a really great song, of course. There are two things about this song that made me love it immediately. First off is the intro. There, of course, is like 12 over 12, and then a 9 over 9 on the first part of where Kirk Hammett eventually gets into his solo parts, and then the next one, it's 12 over 12 to a 12 over 15, and all of those I'm trying to say, 12 over 12, 9 over 9, and then 12 over 12 to 15 over 15 are, excuse me, I think they're all on A or D strings, to be honest. Because I remember playing this song, of course, and thinking that this was one of the most complex ones to actually play. Because the intro, after the main one, after James Hetfield sings, "There's no lights," and then it just gets into the song already. But you know what would have been even more cooler? Is that right after, like, when the solo intro ends, of course, with, like, a slow intro, he could have said, "There's no lights," and then it just dives right into it. But no, it doesn't do that. But that's what exactly happened in, like, the, an AI voiceover of 84 James Hetfield in the video Chasing Light. I don't want to get in too much into that video, but, other than that, though, I'm still thinking that if I ever thought of playing Chasing Light, which I had several times when I finally learned how to play this one, because this one is also a really good song, but now that I look back at the song, I'm like, I don't know if it adds anything new to the table. And this might be the first one on this list I'm going to put somewhere in the middle of the list. It's somewhere in between. It's alright, but honestly, now that I look at the song, it's a mix of, like, both good, but it is overrated at the same time. I'm a mixed bag when it comes to feelings on this song here. Number 9, If Darkness Had a Sun. I think this song gets a little bit hated when it comes to the title, because when this title was then suddenly introduced on one of the thumbnails of people describing one of Metallica's worst song titles of all time, featuring If Darkness Had a Sun on it, because Metallica talks a lot about darkness, and I think they finally brought the darkness as a character to have a family, finally meeting an ultimatum to that. Honestly, darkness is the main contributor to Metallica nowadays in their most recent times, in, like, the 2000s, and in the 21st century so far. Like, the band's been talking about so much about darkness, and I think they started talking about it in, I think in 2008, I think, for Death Magnetic, but I could be wrong in that sense. But what I am gonna say, though, is that this is the last single to be released before, or no, the last single we'll be looking at, but the third one to be released. The second to last one to be released before the album. So, it's kind of fascinating. And also, the song, of course, when I first listened to it, it was, just like Chasing Light, another masterpiece. But I am going to say that when I look at this song nowadays, again, just like Chasing Light, it's sort of I have a mixed bag of feelings on this one, but the vocals, honestly, are really, really good. Especially on the verses, they just slowly, go a bit more deeper and lower as it increases up for the lyrics. Like, in the verses of that song, I just love how If Darkness Had a Sun laid out the lyrics perfectly, and how James sings it in a way. It's great. I love it. But I do, again, have some mixed feelings on this one. But here's the thing, though. I think I'll rank If Darkness Had a Sun over Chasing Light, because I think this one is a bit more better than the other. But none of these songs feel bad. They're good. But there are some mixed feelings I have when it comes to these songs. But this is still a good song. I would prefer revisiting it soon. Number 10, Too Far Gone. Alright, now, I want to tell you guys something. So, when it comes to a retrospective, honestly, there has to be a song that has to be... okay, let me tell you guys something. So, a ranking cannot be a ranking without talking about the worst song off the album. And I'm choosing Too Far Gone as that song because I remember when I first listened to it, I kind of didn't care about the song, as if it was bland. but after a couple revisitations to this song, I don't think it is the worst. In fact, I do not consider any of the songs bad, though I would say, to replace the word bad, is least favorite. But I'm choosing Too Far Gone as the least favorite of this album, just because I remembered when my first instinct had listened to the song, it didn't add anything new to the table. There wasn't anything good to it that brought me into it. But until after revisiting it, I start to slowly accept this song so far. But I still love this song, but it's for the rankings, so you got to know that this one is going in the last position. I don't hate this song. This is a great one. I obviously know how to play it, and 100% I would definitely prefer revisiting this one. Even if this one is a song that is going to the bottom of the list, I am not saying the song is bad. Like I'm saying several times, 72 Seasons so far is far from being a bad one. Honestly, there's quite a bit of songs off this one that I kind of didn't really care about when I first listened to them. But after revisiting them, they do have some differences though. The first appearance when you first hear them might sound a bit flawed, but until when you look back on them, they're good though. But it's still a classic song. Considering that this is at the bottom of the list, I think it will definitely say that this is a perfect song to put at the bottom of the list, but it's for the ranking though, and I think there's a good reason for me to rank it at this low on the list. But still, it's a good song. I can revisit it. Number 11, Room of Mirrors. So now we've gone from the weakest song off the album to one of the best off the entire album. No kidding. This is easily one of the best. But what I mean by one of the best, it's kind of not a magnum opus. Okay, hear me out. At first, when I got the idea to make this video, I consider this one to be a magnum opus because, surprisingly, everyone loves this song, and I'm definitely understandable when it comes to that kind of reason. The harmonies and the melodies are just so fantastic on this song, and you know that on this LP, you know that you're going to get something that is really good in this one. Again, this is another song that got me pulled into it, just for, again, the title. This is another video that's also animated by Tristan Zamet. And welcome is Tristan Zamet here, you better be prepared! Okay, that was a little weird, but in conclusion, and I'm going to say this, I think if Metallica really wanted him as a main animator for the rest of their other animated music videos, because I think this is the first album they attempted to do something like this. Actually, I'm wrong. I think the first one that they did was in, like, 2016 or something, for, like, the song Murder 1 from the Hardwired to Self-Destruct EP, so it can't be that so big, but I will say that when it comes to it, I still 100% think that this song is rather inspired. I also like this song. This is certainly a good one. And when I first listened to it, I was like, ooh, man, this one's pretty creepy. But until looking back on it, this is definitely one I remembered listening and playing to. And get this. This is the second song I remembered playing by my own, and the first of myself playing this song from this album by my own. By learning it all by myself, without an instructor, without anyone to guide me through it. I guided it by myself. Yes, I'm a big boy, because I'm a big boy and I'm a grown man. Okay, I'm gonna stop with that. But seriously, I still really think that this song is easily going to the top 5. And I think you could already tell what the last song off this album is, if you are a good fan of adventurous songs. Still though, this is a fantastic song, and I am willing on putting this one as being one of the best off the album. I'm more willing to put Room of Mirrors in my top 5. Woo! Last song, number 12, Inamorata. We have now reached the magnum opus, and I am really, really looking to this one as being the best of the album. A nice way to send off the band. This is Metallica's last song, up until when they make another new album, which we possibly wouldn't get until in another 6, 7 to 8 years or so. But let me tell you this. Inamorata is a fantastic way to send 72 Seasons off, and 100% to send Metallica off for their new tour. And I am very willing to say that this is the one I might have the most to say about, even if in my May video that I planned on the reactions to be the longest part, it actually pretty much wasn't. It was the DeviantArt section. But anyways, what I'm going to say here right now, this song, Inamorata, is possibly, without questions, 72 Seasons magnum opus. I am willing putting this as the #1 song to put on the list. And why would I think of this song to be the magnum opus of 72 Seasons? Well, for a number of reasons. First off, I just love the tone inside this song. This song is a whopping 11 minutes in length. And also, it's adventurous, and it's a love song when you read the lyrics. Or just listen to James singing it, of course. By singing, of course, Misery, she loves me, but I love her more, is just so adorable, honestly. And keep in mind that 72 Seasons is all about the wrath of man, so, like, you know, when you look at this one, of course, there has to be a reason why this person became so extreme and so filled of wrath, because if you look at the album art that I even put inside the beginning of this video, you could obviously tell that he was going pretty ultimate on it, especially with the song itself when I put on the thumbnail on it. But you guys just need to know that there must have been a loved one to this one, and definitely must have had a kid. But I'm keen to believe that the story behind this one was that that loved one eventually broke up and left with the child, and eventually that man eventually just started breaking random things, even the baby crib in the central part of the entire album. I know it's dark, and again, there's a pretty simple word to that. I'll get to that at the end of the video. Another thing about this song that I also find really interesting is, of course, the middle of the song. The song is extremely heartwarming once it all settles down by saying, ooh, misery, and then it just settles down, and then, surprisingly, we're back to bass again. But it isn't at the beginning of the song. What I meant by saying that this album had bass lines, I'm not talking about, like, with the album in general, where they're extremely vulnerable. I'm talking about parts of the songs where they start with one. But this one kind of starts exactly the most quiet part of this one. And most of the time throughout this one, you feel like you're in like a moment of disquietude when looking at this one. But when you look back on a lot of the songs, of course, even with a love song like this, you can definitely tell that Metallica is really starting to feel a little quiet with this song, of course. But not ultimately quiet, but it is quite rather inspired. Surprisingly enough, this is another song that I also learned by myself. And even if it being an 11-minute cut of the song, I still am a person of challenges. You know, let me tell you guys something. I'm a person when it comes to challenges. I can face a challenge that is somewhat query or anything, but in a way that I feel like that I would feel successful in the end. That's what I do to achieve it. I go through challenges to achieve the goal I want. And that is exactly what everyone needs to do in their lives. Just face challenges. Don't be so frightened and in disquietude about them. Think tenacious, think outside the box, and then you'll find the goal that you want. But let's get one thing straight. Think smarter, not harder. Okay, back to what I was saying. Inamorata is a great song, certainly the magnum opus, and I am very willing to put this one as the magnum opus because I just love the ending part. The ending of this song feels so adventurous. It makes me feel like I'm entering the beginning of a new phase of life. As if, you know, I'm entering in the summer of this year, which I am really planning on playing after the last day of school of this year. And I am very willing to actually play this song after the last day of school, and then the beginning of summer. And then I would also use this song to play right before the beginning of my new leg of school as well, which I will tell you guys a little later on, or maybe not at all. But what I will tell you guys is that it just feels so adventurous. The outro feels so adventurous and feels so kind of elusive, I think, to everything else, but it is still kind of a rather inspired piece. And let me tell you what, from the Judas Priest retrospective, I definitely praise over Inamorata being a song that inspired Judas Priest to make Giants in the Sky, which again, just like that one, has a nice acoustic part, of this one that eventually settles into what really gets them through today, which is a loved one. Which, honestly, I think they were heavily inspired by this song to get them into making Giants in the Sky as the final song on the original copy of Invincible Shields. But I could be wrong in that sense, but I think some people would agree with me if that does stand out to them for a reason. But I will say this. This is a fantastic song. This is certainly one I'm going to put as the magnum opus of 72 seasons, and that is that. One of the most adventurous, and obviously makes me feel like I'm entering in a new stage of life. As of, as the beginning of the summer and the end of school. And the last day of school is over, and it's the beginning of the summer. I would play this song at the very end of that last day of school and the beginning of summer. And then, at the end of summer and the beginning of a new phase of school I'm about to go into, I'm going to play this song as well. So you can see, this song feels like I'm entering into a new phase of life. Has anybody ever felt that before, or is it just me? I have no idea, but I'd like to know. Anyways, this is a fantastic song. Certainly the magnum opus of this album, which I've said numerous times, but I'm going to keep it permanently and truthful. One of the best. 72 seasons magnum opus. And easily, in my opinion, a perfect way to send off 72 seasons and Metallica all together. My ranking for 72 seasons goes something like this. Number 12, Too Far Gone. Number 11, Chasing Light. Number 10, If Darkness Had a Sun. Number 9, Lux Æterna. Number 8, 72 Seasons. Number 7, Shadows Follow. Number 6, You Must Burn. Number 5, Crown of Barbed Wire. Number 4, Sleepwalk My Life Away. Number 3, Screaming Anxiety. Number 2, Room of Mirrors. And number 1, Inamorata. The next phase changer of life. And yeah, before we move on, just to let you know, I of course changed up the rules on it by flipping the rules for this one, considering that it was hard for me to find songs to put on there, considering I said top 5 like 6 times in the video. But yeah, please bear with me on this. When thinking of an end for this video, it was kind of hard for me to choose either a phrase or a word to describe this season. But I finally came down to the conclusion that I should just use a word that somewhat resembles darkness in a way. Not in, like, extreme, but in a way that emphasizes that this is possibly one of Metallica's darkest LPs. Anyways, the word I'm going to use to describe 72 seasons would be dark. 72 season song titles really emphasize a dark and ominous feel to them, and also in a way that makes this album feel pretty belligerent and kind of insane when it comes to the actual moral of what the songs really are trying to plot out. But if anything, 72 seasons, besides all of the odds against it, with kind of some criticism when it comes to fans, of course, ranking it a much more lower than it is, I am kind of a person that is a huge fan when it comes to 72 seasons. I'm more of ranking this one with a great one, a great grade on this one. You might think a solid A. No, you're wrong. This is gonna get a solid S. One of the best of Metallica, and easily the magnum opus of Metallica's time. 100% the magnum opus album. Number 1 of my Metallica's album list. I hope all of you enjoyed this video about me talking about this new album for about over a half an hour, and about to be around about 40 minutes. So anyways, hope you all enjoyed this video, and let me know in the comment section below of what you really think about this album ranking. Was it good or bad? I will be reconciling with all of you guys' comments of whether or not you liked it or you kind of don't like it. Because I can assure myself there are going to be some people that might criticize my liking here. But again, nothing is fact except the criticism. But anyways, hope you all enjoyed it. And stick around for another brand new video for more amazing content. Catch you all tomorrow.